One more thing to add is that, as you said, because there is comparative data that can compare for four countries with the same age group and targeted group, during the literature review and the desk research that was provided from each partner country, it was noticed that even though we don't have statistics right now for the rest of the world, while doing research about violence and well-being, it's significantly mentioned in UNICEF, for example, that violence is occurring within that age group, within the youth group, as well as the lack of well-being. That increases furthermore.
Which age? Sorry.
Age group. So, for example, 13 to 18, for example. Then it goes on and escalates in the act of violence when you're 18 and above to becoming more sexual abuse, violence, more intense, and yeah.
So UNICEF.
So, for example, UNICEF released a paper, for example, social media and the impact on youth, as well as the impact of the community within the country.
Ali, I mean, I don't know if you can put it or write it on the table. So it's hdsc.org. So this is hdsc.org.
I see.
S.
S.
How? Yeah. SC.
C.org. And this is a very comprehensive study that is done every 5 years.
Yeah, just wanted to add this there is this UNICEF report, but unfortunately it's a few years old now, but it's from 2017. It's called A Familiar Face. Yeah, violence in the lives of children and adolescents.
Yeah.
It's the same, yeah?
Yeah.
And it's saying spotlight on adolescent health and well-being.
And I think it would be interesting also to apply the questionnaire to the youth who are taking part in this project we're discussing right now, and see how it compares with the average, if it really has an impact on their well-being. I mean, to measure actually the impact that the project has on the well-being of the youth, those who have access to this program versus the normal.
So some of the answers are from participants from youth groups, and some are not, but we didn't separate them because we wanted to keep the questionnaire completely anonymous, so there isn't a differentiation if they are in a youth group or not. But for future research, definitely, yeah.
Plus, it's complicated to measure impact at this moment. I mean, you don't have impact a few days, weeks after the completion of a youth group. We would need more funds, more resources in order to look to see the same person through I don't know, 1 year, 2 years time span. Otherwise, it's just we see some results, right?
Yeah. So Mikhail, since you're starting, I can invite you here to talk more.
For the policy,
yes,
we are entering into that.
We're entering into that. Mikhail is going to present to you the final output of our project, which is the policy recommendations that we have on improving well-being and hopefully decreasing violence in young people.
I don't know, as you prefer. I mean, it's anyway, the idea of talking about policy is boring in itself. So if I'm talking both in English and Romanian, might be too much.
Too much for you.
So do you mind we have half an hour for this session?
No, I'll try to keep it small. So my name is Mihai, and I'm from Romania. And I'm well. The most important people in this room are there. The team of librarians. They are the heroes. Also, there are some librarians and the adolescents. And thank you so much for being here. We have in the project. We have also the policy component, which is the hardest actually, because we have gazillions of policies around. And it's a matter of how do we implement it. I wanted to start with this picture. Do you know it? It circulated a lot. It was during the Donald Trump's administration. So these fellows, they gathered to talk about policies related to maternity leave for women.
there's something very wrong with that picture.
And you cannot see all, but here are around 29 people that were taking decision about maternity leave and then how this should be approached and tackled. And it's pretty much the same, and this is what I wanted to start with in our case with youth groups policies either at national level or directives at regional and local level. We can end talking, us adults now will not be only about men, but us adults talking about the rights of children and youth and young people. And that's one invitation to all of us, whatever we do, to not think that we know better about themselves, about their needs, their potential, and what should be done. So we need to stay vigilant. How do I do it? I do it here, right? Okay. And by the way, I've started this presentation somewhere in the desert of Mauritania. And then last night I put it together in this canvas. And another thing is, don't let people to use too much, to abuse the Canva, because look what can happen. No, not this one, but something like that can happen. Will return. Okay, so be careful to whom you give access for. Thank you. I mean, I was so happy to see, and unfortunately, I could not use all the pro because we don't have access to the pro features. I wanted to put the card to buy it, but or we could move towards this. I'm using 3 examples. I don't know why this picture is not loading. These are 3 different examples. One is from western part of Spain, Merida. One is from eastern part of Australia, and one is from central western part of India, in Mumbai. And these are situations whereby adults created a space for teenagers and very young people to participate to the way we are designing the public spaces, and to take in consideration their approach, their input, their needs. So, for instance, here, you know, the young kids. I mean, she's probably, I don't know, 5, 6. She could go around and see and post where she feels that she would like better, the alley or a certain type of bench. And here, you know, teenagers were taken into, you know, their input was taken into account in order to create a skate park. And here they are the Minecraft, those that played in the past or still playing now the game, the strategy game. So the company that is behind Minecraft, these guys they put together a process whereby they went and worked with the authorities from Mumbai in order to let the players of this game to design how an empty block here could be redone. This is what's happening when you get people, your end user, on board, and this is exactly what we should do in our approach in policy. And yes, everybody is saying, of course, we are taking into account the story and the needs and the input of teenagers, but it's not necessarily true. Sometimes it's just to check boxes. I've looked in all the materials I got from all the teams, from Spain, from Latvia, from Romania and Bulgaria, and everybody is saying that it's happening. I liked that in the Bulgarian case, it was also with bold, we need to do more of this because we are not doing, right? This I mean probably this will be shared afterwards, right? So you will see here that there are certain laws, and so on, policy related actions that are still to be taken. And I've put just a few of them. I was surprised that, for instance, in Romania, there is not yet adopted the plan from the action plan, the strategy and the action plan for youth that was supposed to be started to be implemented last year until 2026. And then also the transition process of the whole component on youth from the ministries. And this is something that will go further a bit, in the next slides. If you have political instability, then you might get into such situations, and it's also the case signaled in Bulgaria, because you have different people that are coming with different stories. They forget about the strategies and the plans, and then you don't have the institutional memory, as it is called. You don't have the people that worked on the previous plans and so on. This was supposed to be updated. For some reason it's not. I hope we'll have all the presentation. I like that, for instance, if you look in Bulgaria, there is a decentralized approach on youth. You don't have one ministry that is supposed to do this.
We do, but they don't do much. We have a Ministry of Youth and Sport, but even when they were changing governments, they forgot to include the youth part. It was for a while just Ministry of Sport, and then they also included the youth.
Yeah. Somewhere there.
Yeah.
The best part in this situation is that even if you have or you don't have a Ministry of Family, Youth, and so on, or sometimes this is from the old communist times that we were having the Ministry of Sport and Youth, because they were kind of connecting them. It's like when you are older, you don't go into sports and so on. The good part is that even if we have or we don't have a ministry that is dealing with the youth, things related to youth are still dealt with, because it's such a big component in our society that is like youth within all policies. So this is one good part. I see that in Bulgaria there are many laws that are many things that can be done and should be done. Now, if you see, continuing from primary, secondary, and tertiary prevention, multi-sectorial protection system, a child rights approach, as I was mentioning, to take into consideration their story, right? Their narrative, what they want. Now, this is then a matter of who is pushing, who has the energy to lobby, who has the resources and so on. Especially when you, in 5 years' time, probably you have to go to 6 teams, different teams, if the governments are changing.
6 teams is good if we just keep it at 6.
Latvia, in Latvia, I mean, there are many things happening, and it's impressive, the work that you guys are doing there. It's a very organized. Latvia in Spain is more chaos in Romania and Bulgaria on the policy level. But then there, if you see here, I was having to be determined, or things that are good to do but we don't have dates. Well, for Latvia and Spain, these things are clear. I mean, waiting for approval, the only yes is yes law, as it is called. Huh?
It was approved last month.
Excellent. It was approved last month on sexual education and so on. It's a very intricate law, because it's tackling various other laws and so on. And then the real and effective equality of trans people, and for the guarantee of LGBTI rights. It was presented in June to the parliament.
Yes, but because it's quite, we we have a coalition government, so they tend to disagree on technicalities on these kind of laws. So they have tried to approve it time and time again, but they are currently, it's a big debate now on the some like specific parts of the trans law. So hopefully it will be approved soon, but haven't happened yet.
Yeah, but it's there. It's on the agenda. Huh? On the rights of trans people and LGBTIS and and then in Latvia you also have very clear dates. The signed memorandum, to have the constructive reproductive health and rights education in schools. It was a coalition, and I'm not sure if coalition, but signatures from various organizations. And in late spring, they signed a memorandum. And then, if you have already such ecosystem, these people are going to put pressure on the parliament. That's the beauty of working together. And then the bullying and prevention. So you see from here, it's like urgent completion of the transition and some very general things. This is more on niches. Same when you get to that point where you are, you have to cover now the trans, the rights of trans people, LGBTI people. So here again, it was here it's also Marta very present into the National Bullying Prevention Intervention Guidelines for Educational Institutions. And the guidelines were drafted and in this year. So now it's a matter of pushing them further. I will very much want to ask any of representatives from Bulgaria, Latvia, and Spain if you want to comment more on this, or we can move.
We can move on.
Yeah, because I mean, this is a part of the democratic process, right? Whereby we are either proposing changes of law, or we are responding to others presenting such things, such laws. Okay, we.
I would have a question.
Again.
Why do you think in Latvia and Spain, or maybe they can tell us what are the tools that they are having that are better than what we have as tools? Why we are just at the general level and everything is to be determined, and in Latvia and Spain they have dates, they are at niche level.
I can start the answer and then they can continue.
I mean
Spain started way long time ago.
Okay.
Spain started way long ago. Same Latvia. They had less political turmoil. It's not that you didn't have it, but then you had some powerful organizations there that they could push. In Romania,
We don't have any powerful organization that we can use.
We have, but here we are talking about the big policies, and then we are talking about moving that through parliament, and it was much harder. I mean, I was looking on many websites of Romanian NGOs that are making letters, issuing letters after letters to the parliament saying we want to be part of the process. Look, we've drafted a draft of strategy and action plan. Please take it also in consideration.
And nothing happened.
Well, it is, but slower steps.
Well, one thing what you cannot validate is that we are tiny. We are not even 2 million people in the country, and therefore it might be easier for us to push through different decisions. But
everybody knows each other. So.
Yeah, so that's one thing. But then again, on the surface, it looks very nice. Once it comes to implementation, it's a huge struggle still. So this is, I think, also some kind of this being very progressive on the paper. Yeah, once it comes to the reality, there are very similar challenges as Romania, Bulgaria, and other countries.
In Bulgaria,
and corruption is still there. Yeah.
So in Bulgaria, we also have a really big pushback. Anytime there is even very harmless, not even talking about anything more progressive. Even strategies for the well-being of youth are being stopped by more right-wing parties stories, by a lot of misinformation that starts spreading and people get very wrong ideas. There was a strategy for the child that could never get accepted because of a lot of misinformation that this will take your children away. If you slap your child once, they're going to take it away. And all kinds of stories like this that spread online, and people start believing this instead of reading what the text of the strategy suggests.
And let's put it in context. I mean, you have a country like Romania and Bulgaria, right? You have a lot of rural areas. So it's very political because you go to take votes, right? From as a politician from these people in rural communities, conservative communities. So of course you wanna talk on their language, and that's where you have space for these extremist and more far right parties. I don't know the case of Spain. If you want to add more, coming back to Christina's.
Most of the more progressive laws have been approved in the past year, 2 years because of the new government, but there's been a lot of resistance as well because they have a majority, but just about. So basically, almost half of the parliament is quite conservative. So there's always a lot of resistance, a lot of pushback, a lot of disinformation when it comes to new laws. Whenever there's only yes is yes law, it's called the sexual freedom law. It's commonly known as the only yes is yes law because before our law had a differentiation between sexual abuse and sexual aggression, and the law it was very hard to have a sentence on sexual aggression with someone because the difference was you needed to prove that this person was being intimidated or using violence, which in many cases doesn't happen, so you would get very low sentences. So this new law eliminates the terminology of sexual abuse. Everything is a sexual aggression because it's usually don't defend themselves. If it's 1 against 3, you're not going to defend yourself. So and if it's only yes is yes because if the victim is clearly not consenting, it's a sexual aggression. So there's been a lot of misinformation on this is taking the presumption of innocence away. A lot of fake news on the men are going to be immediately sentenced and things like that. So it's a law, but it had to be voted several times. There was a lot of resistance on the media. It was still quite a conservative country. You talked about how historically you're communist country, but we were a fascist country not that long ago, and half of our society is still very much, and it's still part of our institutions, of our legal institutions, even some educational institutions. So it's very, very hard to have this kind of laws in practice. One thing is passing them, another thing is to actually have them implemented in the court of justice.
Thank you so much for all this. And please, let's be empathic when we are talking about policies. Sometimes it's good not to change them very quickly. The society should be ready. All the society should be ready because policies are made for everybody, right? And then we should get to the point when the society can absorb this. Of course, this is an opinion. We can debate about that, but usually things need time. We need to take care of all the citizens in such a complex society as ours.
So I cannot help but disagree with that.
Please,
because
I'm happy when you
we're not taking away care for the other citizens by implementing laws which protect more citizens.
Yeah, I totally get it. That's why I've thrown it like that on the table of discussion. But imagine that it might fight back.
Yeah, I don't need to imagine because it's happening to me personally.
It's happening everywhere in the world. If we are trying to push it when the society is not yet ready, being ready means that we have to have programs for people not to be aware only, but also to want to make that move, to want to obey that whatever piece of legislation. Otherwise, they will find ways not to do it. Then especially in such situations when you have war at the borders of EU, you have financial crisis, it will democratically you'll get right wing or left wing, usually right wing parties that will be in power, and then they will debalance the whole thing in a country. It happened many times in the history, right?
Yeah, historically they've always had to scapegoat someone in times of turmoil, but we also had a few decades of peace during which we had the same situation. The same type of weaponizing, the National Strategy for Children, the Convention Against the Violence of Women, they were still weaponized even during peace times.
Yeah, and talking about this, we still have the Istanbul Convention. Out of these 4 countries that we are talking about, Bulgaria and Latvia signed the document in Istanbul, but did not ratify it. And did not implement it. Only Spain and Romania signed, ratified, and they are saying that they are implementing it, but it's a matter of how they are implementing it in Romania. But no, all 4 countries signed it there in Istanbul. Thank you so much for the comments. They are very useful. So this is the moment when I'm saying don't let people use and abuse Canva. Bear with me. It's some good information. I hope it here. These are some learnings I got from reading tons of material that each of the participants, each of the countries were putting there. One big thing is that we are part of EU, and it matters. It matters so much now within with the whole conflict the invasion of Ukraine by the Russian Federation, but also because sometimes if at the country level we don't do enough, it might be a pressure from the the umbrella institution mechanism that is EU. And we have, starting with 2001, we have the white paper on the rights of youth, that youth should be taken into consideration, where we think about policies that also impact them somehow. And this started earlier, I think in 1997, when the European Council, they were asking each country to tell what are they doing, each of us, not only the 4 countries that we are talking about. So this is a big thing, right, that we have it. I would put here now, this still connecting the dots. All of us in all our countries, we are not approaching youth-related actions only with one institution. It needs to be integrated. 5? No, it's good. Thank you. We need to still connect the dots. Sometimes we are still into this practice, not narrative, that each of the institutions is starting its own game, feeding its own toy and so on. It cannot be done, right? It cannot be done. And we are talking about local authorities, NGOs, local level or national level, central authorities, regional, and so on. What we've seen is that it's good. I mean, if you go in some other countries around the world, what we have here is very progressive. We are making big steps, but it's a matter of what's the reference point. I mean, do we want to compare ourselves with the laws in, I don't know, I went to Ghana. Ghana is moving very, very nicely. But I don't know, Sierra Leone, or we want to compare to some more progressive countries than ours, and so on. So we still need to do things. One of the safety net eventually is that we have good constitutions. The constitutions are there, you cannot change it very easily, and that's the point of a constitution. And all the constitutions are protecting the rights of youth. So it's something that we can use in our advantage anytime we have difficulties in pushing because of changes in the politics and so on. Something that was mentioned by the Bulgarian team, yes, the Bulgarian team, with the prevention versus punitive action. So in the laws, we have a lot of, if you don't do this, we are going to kick your... Can we say on the television? So it's a matter of moving towards a legislation that is more about prevention, all types of prevention, and creating the space to get to a safer environment, right? I also highlighted this one. I like this so much, with the child rights approach. And then something that we've talked already, and it was also mentioned by you in your comments, that we have different stages of development and implementation in the 4 countries, right? Some, they are getting more on niches, some they are more on the basic part. I've mentioned already the stability versus instability. This is it can be a acceleration or not. Strategies are not the end of the story. They are not. That's why it's good that we are not talking about only strategies. We are talking about what can we do at our own local level within our organization, and to then also take these issues on in consideration. It's civil society. I could say the local authorities are crucial, but they cannot do it alone. The civil society, so the NGOs, the schools can do some things, but again, it's a matter of connecting the dots. And the last part, with some, is it connected to the internet? Shit. Because we have another slide.
Do you have an HDMI? Put it here.
I can read you from this one, because our we also have this.
So, you want to connect it?
Hmm?
You want to connect it?
Yeah, but I don't have the stuff.
Ah, okay.
So I will read it. It's fine. It was very colorful and nice, but it's fine. Continue the interinstitutional approach. Very important, this one, and talk about and behave in this mindset that it's about use within all policies. Wherever we can push this message, let's do it. Look at more anchor institutions. Like we were trying in Romania with the libraries. You also, in your focus groups in Bulgaria, you are also considering, what if maybe we can start? Because it's like the question with which was first, the egg or the hen. So it's yeah, but libraries are not active in Bulgaria. But it's a matter of they can become relevant if we have relevant services for the community, right? So this is something that I would very much say that we should take in consideration, looking at these more anchor institutions, but not only. Vladuț, who could not be present here, was looking at what if we empower more psychologists. They don't do their jobs. Pretty much everywhere on, well, in these countries, I don't know in Spain, but they are supposed to do things. They are in the school, they are paid, and they should take care of such things. And they don't do it. But maybe we can take them in the boat. Some of them, and then we can roll. Deal with youth-related actions both at national and local level. This is something that was said by all those of you that had workshops. Again, schools cannot do it alone. Let's stop putting pressure on schools. They cannot do it. They don't have the time. They have the curriculum. Let's find also other institutions. Look for budgets at local level, even if it's not enough. We had some of the participants from Romania that went at the local council level in the village there and asked for money in order to have for the next youth group funds to pay up psychologists that will help into this, and they got money, or they found a sponsorship in order to send the youth people, the teenagers, the adolescents to some camp, and to more invest in training and retraining. We need to keep the professional level very, very high in this, because they are very sensitive things. So we need to have people that know what they are doing, and then to all the time remind them that it's serious thing. It's not to check boxes and so on. Have the youth group as a regular part of an organization's activity. This is something that, for instance, we are trying to push at the level of the libraries. It becomes a library service, as is the loaning book service, or CDs, whatever they have. And this is where it helps to have very stable organizations. A library is a stable organization. You might find the same person on the position in 5-10 years time. It's not necessarily true for an NGO. Recognize the professionals and organizations that are pushing this. Especially, I mean, there were many from the focus groups that were ran. It was a matter of, it's a lot of pressure from the society. Let's not talk about this subject. Let's not, because it's about sexual education and so on. Why are you talking? So we need to make it like a prestigious thing. And then for the youth workers, whoever they are, librarians, people from NGOs and so on, to feel comfortable and courageous enough to still push it. I know, I've seen the look. And then invest, look, it's the last one, invest in soft diplomacy. Invest in soft diplomacy. We need to learn how to, we are here talking among ourselves. We don't have any policymaker here. That was a discussion mainly for policymakers, not for us, right? So we need to find ways in such venues, in such instances, to take also an MP with us, 2 MPs, or people that can manage them to take the message and make it their own, and then will be an anchor in there. I think this is it. I hope it will activate also there in order to remain. If not, I will send the slide.
Okay. Thank you, Mikhail.
Thank you so much.
So we're going to continue. I'm not inviting you to ask questions because we're going to continue talking about policies after lunch. We're going to have a panel with participants from all of our partner countries to discuss the policies about youth well-being and violence. But now we wanted, like I said earlier in the day, we want to also present another project that we're working on that is related. It's called Warriors Against Gender-Based Violence. And in the next 15 minutes, in a faster fashion, Ali's going to present to you what we're doing there.
To be honest, I think this topic needs a bit more than 15 minutes, but yeah.
It's very audible.
I can't, I have a tick. So, Warriors Against Gender-Based Violence. Now, this is it is a topic for today, for sure, to say. It's the reason why we're presenting it in the conference of Regroup is because TFN is a partner in it, and also Marta Centers is working with it, as you will see later on. And gender-based violence is something that we do cover in the methodology, or at least we cover it in youth work. Adolescents need to know about the principles of it. So, Warriors Against Gender-Based Violence is one of those, I would say, one of my favorites among Regroup and Comics is another project as well. As you see in the logo, I really liked it so much I got it tattooed. And where did it start? The birth, let's say the spawn of the idea started when I was working in refugee camps. So in refugee camps we had from child protection organizations, we had safe spaces, right? So this really stuck with me. It was called PSS, so